people protest, you tend to feel for them, even feel obliged to support them. But in Nepal's case, we don't. Thousands of Nepalese have hit the streets of Kathmandu. They're marching and shouting slogans. And what do they want? To bring back the monarchy. Let me repeat that. Nepalese protesters want to abolish their republic. They want the former king to rule Nepal.
A country will retain its value and identity only if it is turned back to a monarchy and the king is reinstated back to the throne.
For the continuation of Nepal and Nepali people, we need a monarchy. Without a king, we have no identity as Nepalese, and all of us might as well just declare ourselves as refugees.
Now, we've seen the opposite many times. People protesting to remove the king is quite common. Even Nepal had a similar movement. Until 2005, it was a constitutional monarchy, but the last king, Gyanendra, had other plans. He dismissed the parliament, he jailed politicians and journalists, he declared an emergency and captured absolute power. That's when public protests broke out in Nepal. Thousands of people hit the streets demanding the king's abdication. And in 2006, he relented. The king transferred power to the parliament. 2 years later, the monarchy was abolished. Today, King Gyanendra lives like a commoner. He rarely makes public appearances or comments. So why do protesters want him back? Because they feel democracy has not delivered. And you can't really blame them. Nepal's democratic journey began in 2008. Since then, they've had 13 governments. That's 13 governments in 16 years. Parties keep splitting, coalition partners keep changing, and so do prime ministers. Just look at what happened earlier this month. Nepal's prime minister changed his coalition partner. He dumped the Nepali Congress. He then allied with a faction of the Communist Party, the CPN, Unified Marxist-Leninist. That's the faction of former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. Now, fun fact, this new coalition is not exactly new. It's the same equation of 2022. In November that year, general elections were held. Pushp Kamal Dahal, or Prachand as he's better known, wanted to be Prime Minister, but his ally, the Nepali Congress, did not agree. So what did he do? He joined hands with Oli's faction. A few months later, he changed his mind. He dumped Oli's faction and went with the Nepali Congress. This was in March 2023. 1 year later, he's changed again, dumped Nepali Congress and joined hands with Oli's faction. I know it is confusing even to hear all of this. So imagine living through it. This is the third coalition since 2022. It's the textbook definition of instability, and instability leads to mismanagement. Let me show you some numbers. Nepal's GDP grew by just 1.9% in the last financial year. Inflation was around 7.7% and unemployment around 11%. It's actually much higher in the 15 to 29 age group. That's nearly 20% unemployment. In fact, most Nepalese youth are leaving their country. They want to live and work abroad. Consider the first 7 months of the last financial year, around 400,000 Nepalese left the country. That's almost 1,900 people every day leaving. It's a huge number for a country of 30 million people. So the resentment is justified. But do remember one thing. It's not democracy or republicanism that has failed. It's the politicians of Nepal. That distinction is very important. Restoring the monarchy will not help Nepal. The idea that only a king can preserve national identity is wrong. After all, most countries do not have a king. Does that mean they do not have a national identity? Of course not. The problem here is that there are royalists within the democratic setup, like the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. It was founded in the 1990s by the king's allies. Today, it has 14 seats in Nepal's parliament, which is 5% of the total. Now, this party is leading the movement to restore the monarchy. I'm sure they have their own vested interest in doing so, but it's important that Nepal's people reject it. If your democracy does not work, do not replace it. Just replace the people running it.